Jake. This is Evan Grant from the Dallas Morning News. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Very good, thank you. Let me just, I guess, ask the obvious here. I think this whole trade got instigated by you picking up your option, and I think the Braves may have been caught by a little bit by surprise. Why did you decide to pick up the option there?
I just thought it was the best thing for me at the time. I had an incomplete season last year. I had that ankle injury that knocked out a good portion of my season. And then after that, it was just kind of an uphill battle. So I didn't really throw the way I wanted to. And I thought it was more important just to, forego free agency this year and then re-enter after this season and go back into the market after, hopefully a healthy season. And that's basically the main thing is having a healthy season going into free agency, I think is the most important thing. And the fact that I didn't last year and I didn't really like the way I finished up came into factor. And that was a lot of my reasoning. I've been through free agency, twice now, and it can be a stressful time, even when you have good years. So it's an interesting aspect. I just thought I had this in front of me. I had incentives in my contract for this year also, so I can change value, and it just made the most sense for me at the time, and that's the beauty of it. It was my decision, and I exercised it.
And when you guys communicated that to the Braves and Alex, you were aware that a trade was a distinct possibility, correct?
I mean, not distinct, but a possibility. I feel like it's a possibility for anybody on any situation. So I knew there was a chance. I enjoyed my time in Atlanta. That factored into my decision as well too. A lot of great people there, a lot of really great teammates that I enjoyed being around for a short amount of time. So I was aware though. Obviously, I know pitching depth there was very big. So whatever happened. It's kind of out of my hands, but this is a tremendous landing spot. I've got friends on the team. I've got an ex catcher of mine that's on the coaching staff, and Bobby Wilson. There's a lot of things there that make a lot of sense for me, and I'm really truly happy to be a part of the organization.
But what pitcher really hasn't had Bobby Wilson as an ex-teammate at some point in time?
Right.
Thanks. I'll let somebody else monopolize the conversation. Thanks, man.
No problem.
Okay, Kennedy.
Hi, Jake. I'm with MLB.com. Just on your health, do you feel like you're fully recovered, or are you still working through that? And really, how much did that affect you down the stretch, in Houston and Atlanta last season?
Yeah. My ankle is completely healthy now. Just the time off, I feel like I was finally hitting my stride before the ankle injury happened, and then having to shut it back down and then trying to pick it back up. And the biggest thing with it being my left was the landing. So I was landing a little softer than I wanted to, not able to twist and stay as firm on that front side. So just a little bit of bad habits to fight through, from that. But as part of the game is making the adjustments, trying to pitch through it. And at some points I was able to, other points, just the consistency wasn't there. And I don't think there was a full amount of trust in the ankle at that moment. It felt a lot better. It's just a matter of needing probably an off season to recover and be back to normal, but it feels great now. I've already started off season workouts, that sort of thing, but definitely threw a wrench into the season for sure.
And when you talk about friends on the team, were you in Minnesota at the same time as Mitch Garver?
I was, yes.
So, how does that feel for you to come into a team with a catcher that you do also have a rapport with, along with Bobby Wilson, I guess?
Yeah, that's huge for me as a pitcher on a 1-year deal now. It's nice to have some familiarity behind the plate. Garver and I have worked together, my entire time in Minnesota. So he knows me very well. I know him, and that comfort level definitely has an impact as a starting pitcher of trying to, you try to establish those relationships with the catching core whenever you get to a new place. But having had one built with Garv is really important to me, and I know he does a great job back there. So that's gives me a better starting point, I guess, for joining the team.
Thank you, Jake.
No problem.
Levi.
Hey, Jake. Levi Weaver with The Athletic. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing all right. I'm curious how much in the last, time has been, has it been a week? Like in the last...
Almost week Wednesday.
Okay. How much time have you spent kind of just on Baseball Reference or Fangraphs or whatever, kind of getting to familiarize yourself with what the organization you're about to be a part of, or is that something you're already pretty acutely familiar with just from playing against them?
Yeah, I think just playing against them the last year and a half, have a pretty good idea of a lot of the guys, and it's that's the benefit of being in the same division and coming back to a division also. So playing against a lot of them for, not just the last couple of years, but just the years before that. It's one thing to play against people. It's another thing to get to know them and be friends and teammates and really build that camaraderie at that group. So that's what I'm looking forward to do in spring training, is really getting to know a lot of those guys on a personal level. And I think the best teams that I've been on are some of the closest teams. And that's a really important thing for me in my mind is, a group that's trying to achieve something it needs to be a tight knit group, and it all starts in spring training and kind of getting to know each other.
Yeah. How would you sort of assess the team? And I know I'm putting you in a situation where you haven't even been in the clubhouse, and you're of course going to have to say nice things because that's your new team. But do you have just kind of an assessment of where the team is at in their, coming up out of a rebuild and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, just like that, they're on the way up. Sometimes it can be a jettison straight up. Other times it's a gradual curve. And I don't think you really know until you reach the point of being successful again. I know last year didn't go as they wanted it to as a group. I can understand that. I've been on teams like that. But I think just continuing to grow, each player trying to do their own thing, stay within themselves. And then you have an ownership group and a front office that showed last offseason that they're willing to spend. I think as part of a rebuild, you can rebuild with your own system, and you can rebuild from outside the system as well. And the fact that they've shown that they play in the, the deep end of the pool, so to speak, on the free agent market is a great way to, push your rebuild into high speed. So looking forward to seeing what they do this offseason. And we'll see, what the team looks like come spring training time. But, it's definitely, with the effort they're putting in, they definitely, we would know the direction that they're trying to go and take this team.
Appreciate it. I got more, but I'll jump to the back of the line. Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Steven.
Hey, Jake, Stephen Hawkins with the AP in Dallas. I kind of followed up on that about the team and everything. When you look, you've been part of 3 teams that have been to the playoffs. What do you see in teams that are familiar, that are common in that you might see here so far, just from what you've looked at?
I think the big thing is, like, expanding on what I said, was having that friendship and being able to gel as a group. Minnesota, we had a good team in Minnesota. Obviously, Houston speaks for itself, how well they've been the last couple of years, my time there. And then Atlanta, it's a group of guys that all gets along together. Doesn't matter, if you're Dominican, American, Puerto Rican, Venezuelan, everybody gets along as a cohesive group and can have fun with each other. I think when guys are having fun, that's when you're going to see guys play their best and the most relaxed. So I think it's important to have team dinners, just hanging out sessions with guys and really getting to, let everybody get their comfort levels up with everybody, because that's an important thing. And the teams that I've been on that had success are a group that can have fun, joke around with each other, and then go out and, win a ball game, expect to win. And that's the biggest thing, is expecting to win. But it all, starts from, trust. Basically, you got to trust the guy next to you that they're going to do their job, be in the right place, do the right thing, and accountability. You have to have accountability in this job, and sometimes you have to have tough conversations with guys, but it's always for the greater good. And I've been on both sides of those conversations, and I think what the driving factor is everybody wants to win, and we're here for one common goal.
What do you know about Bruce Bochy, and what are your thoughts of playing for him?
I just know a lot of what, the success that he had in San Francisco. A lot of great teams, a lot of World Series teams. To bring that guy in is I think, kind of a telltale sign of what they want to try to do with the organization, what direction they want to go. I spoke to him on the phone a day or two after I was traded. Seems like a phenomenal guy. I don't know. I've never personally met him, in person, but I liked everything that he had to say. And when you've been around that long as a manager, I feel like it's an easy thing. You garner a lot of respect, and guys enjoy, playing for him.
Last thing I have for you, you've only had a couple of appearances at Globe Life. Just what are your thoughts of pitching in there, and what do you think of that facility as far as from a pitching perspective?
Yeah, it's only, I think, like you said, a handful of times, but if I remember correctly, it's pretty pitcher friendly for the most part. It's a environment controlled. There's never a breeze blowing out unless you got the roof open, which it's always a good thing. So I've enjoyed the couple times I've thrown there, and it's as a new stadium, it's a great facility. I know the visiting side was tremendous from a locker room standpoint. I know the home side's pretty ridiculous also. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting to know everything. But I like, I liked visiting the ballpark and then pitching there also.
All right, man. Thank you.
Yep.
John.
Hey, Jake, I'm John Reddick, and I'm with the Rangers TV broadcast. First, I wonder, have you crossed paths? I'm sure you have, maybe even faced your new general manager, Chris Young.
I'm sure we've crossed paths at some point. I mean, he just finished up in, I think, 17. So yeah, there's 3 years of 4 years of overlap we could have had. I'm sure that he's pitching games that I pitched in and vice versa. But it's pretty great to see how quick of an ascension he has from his playing career to his general manager career. It's nice to be under a GM that's a former player and understands the grind and knows what guys are going through. So I'm excited to see what he has in store for the winter.
Yeah, and then the other thing you mentioned, you sometimes have to have those tough conversations, and that you've been on both sides of those. As a new guy, can you, because you're a veteran, can you be, on the giving as opposed to receiving end, when you get to Texas, a new team?
I think so. I think it's about the approach. It's about the intent more than anything else. And it's always for the greater good. You're trying to help guys out with maybe a routine or a program, what you see. If I faced a guy as a hitter, I'm going to say, I saw this, and this. I think if you might do this, it might be a thing. And it's a two-way street too. That's why it's a conversation. It's not a speech at somebody. And I think that's where, the best thing to do or like to get information is talk to other players. And if you've been around long enough, even if you haven't been around long enough, there's input you can give that is vital input. And it's not trying to come in and change anything. It's just, some guys see things differently and some things resonate differently with players when they hear it from other players. So like I said, I have been on the tough side of it, but I've been on the good side of it too. It's just, you want to bring the best out of players for for their sake, for the team's sake. And, when it's needed, go out looking for it. You want to get to know somebody before having a conversation like that. But I think that's what good teams do. And it's in our most respectful manner of trying to help them individually and then the team as a group as a result of, probably pushing somebody in the right direction.
Yeah, that's great, Jake. Thank you. Welcome. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jeff.
Jeff Wilson here with Rangers Today. Welcome to the club. Are you the same pitcher you were 10, 8, 7 years ago, or have you changed? And if so, how?
Oh boy. Definitely a different pitcher. I'm older now. Not as big. I used to be able to just go grab the ball and play catch and get on the mound. It takes a little bit to get going now, but I think in ways better, and then in ways, you can merge the two together. So the experience I've had over my entire career has definitely made me a better pitcher. If I would know what I know now at a younger age, it's like, that's a career changing thing, but it only comes with experience. So, my most important thing is first thing I want to do is I want to be a good teammate to everybody, in the group. I think that's what the mark is. And then, do better than what I did last year, improve on what I need to improve on, and just do what I can do to help win a game every single time I touch the ball. So, there's things I look at film, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and look at little cues, this, that, and the other. And I think that's an important thing of pitching is, maybe you can find something from a previous year of yourself that can resonate now, or maybe you're doing differently. So I like who I am as a pitcher. And I think I have, if I need to go back and look at other film for years in the past, I have the ability to do that now with all the technology. But it's something that each player, I think, should do it for themselves, because sometimes you find cues and ticks that might be able to help you and with who you are now and what the type of pitcher or the type of hitter that you are.
Coming where you came from earlier in your career, Tampa, is analytics and data entrenched in you, or do you have some old school tendencies, or a mix of both?
So I like analytics a lot. I think you have to know what you're looking for first and foremost. You can get lost now in all the analytics that are out there, and you have to know the type of pitcher you are to benefit from certain analytics. We all can't be, a high spin rate, curveball, fastball guy. We can't be a, east-west guy. Like your stuff dictates the type of pitcher that you are. You can improve on that. But at the same time, it's hard to start fresh and say, I want to be the best of every single, aspect that there is. So I value that. I use it a lot in the off season when I'm trying to, prep for a season with pitch shapes and what I can do to tweak this, tweak that. But, at the end of the day, you go out there, you have a game to pitch once every fifth day. And sometimes the prep work is out the window. You can tell from a eye test what hitters are trying to do. And I think it's important to be able to analyze swings, see guys' approaches, what they're trying to do, what's the common theme, and adjust your game plan accordingly. So it's it's all great to practice with all the analytics, and then in the game, sometimes they go out the window. You have to focus on what are the hitters telling me as opposed to what are the numbers telling me. So I think there's a fine line where you need to have a blend of both to be a successful pitcher, unless you just have unreal stuff and you don't need to worry about any of that. But that's few and far. That's a few guys in the league, but I know I'm not one of those guys. So I have to put in my preparation, but also, stay in the moment too.
Okay. Thanks, Jay.
Back to Levi.
That was a perfect setup for my question, actually, because, looking at the numbers of how you have been used in the last little bit, that your managers, it appears to me anyway, have sort of looked at the third time through the order penalty and gone, you're probably going to be most effective those first two times through the order, which I guess, limits your usage a little bit. I'm just curious if that is something that you sort of look at and go, yeah, the numbers say that that's the best way to use me, so let's go with it. Or is that something that you sort of, I feel like a lot of starting pitchers will bristle against that and go, no, I want to go 6, 7, 8 innings.
I think it is all selective. Each game is its own individual game. Going into a game with a preconceived notion of only 5 and then we're going to go to the bullpen, I think is not the right way to look at it. Not just for me, but for any pitcher. You could have a guy that's at 60 pitches, and I've been on teams in past years where we've had younger guys go, they said they're going 5, they had like 55 pitches and they got pulled. And the eye test is sometimes an overlooked thing, but as a starting pitcher, you just want to have as much success as you can without giving in at the wrong moment for the team's purpose. So I'm aware of the numbers. I think numbers are what drives the game nowadays, and I've been researching what I'm doing in different situations to improve on. And I got some intel this past year. I didn't really get to use it all that much in certain instances, but I was able to get in the 7th inning a couple of times in Houston, and what we had looked at gave me some different perspective on the third time through and how I need to navigate. So I think I'm just a pitcher. It could be 5 innings, it could be 7, it could, who knows? Whatever the game dictates, I think is what is the driving force for that game individually. Obviously, there's X factors that go into it, from bullpen health, seeing a team multiple times, whatever it might be. But I think each game is just viewed as what the game is. What are we telling each other in that instance? And then we adapt from there. But just having preconceived limits, I don't think is right for any pitcher. Like I said, not just for me, but veteran, young guy, whatever it is. And then you go from there, because each game's its own different animal, and you get through it.
You've been in this game long enough to know that you just sort of gave a little bit of a breadcrumb or trail of breadcrumbs there. I'm curious what it is that you learned. You said you sort of picked up on something that you didn't get to use that often. Is that something you can share, or is that trade secrets?
No, I mean, probably more trade secrets than anything. I had a lot of conversation in Houston. I mean, they're a very data-driven organization, had a lot of success with pitchers. It was shortly before I ended up getting hurt. So that's why I say it kind of threw a wrench into things. But I kind of had some conversations and got some not answers, but ideas of maybe approaching some things in a different way the third time through. And I was starting to see some success with it. I could see it. And then obviously getting shut down, then trying to build pitch count back up. And there's some instances after that where I was able to get deeper into games, but just came at a bad time when I thought, when things were looking up. But that's the game. And So I'm fortunate to have those conversations, and now, hopefully for a full healthy season, be able to implement a little bit more consistently.
All right. Thanks.
No problem.
Okay, we'll go back to cat lover Evan Grant.
Sorry about my cat making an appearance here. He's still new in the house and doesn't quite know the boundaries. Jake, the cutter last year seemed to be a pitch you started to use a lot more. Any particular reason there?
Just had a good feel for it. When I look at my repertoire, and having a pitch that's similar is good and bad at the same time. The profiles well against certain guys, and it's a pitch to miss barrels. It's not a swing and a miss pitch more than anything else. So having an I'm basically trying to get early contact, keep the pitch count down, and that was the emphasis on using it a little bit more. I originally worked on it in Minnesota back when Martine and I were teammates, and that I used it very sparingly there, and then I just started implementing a little bit more and more just from the success I saw with it in certain spots, and I thought, I can use this in bigger spots also. So then I started using it at a higher clip, but it's basically a barrel missing pitch. I want it to be a contact pitch. I want it to be put in play, and so far, good results. There's obviously improving on it. There's improving on every pitch. But it's something I just thought of that made a little bit more sense with what I was trying to do with getting deeper into games.
So that wasn't it wasn't something that came up pitch design wise or going to a lab or anything. That was more you on your own.
Yeah, I mean, I've thrown it over the years, even back to my Tampa days, but I would only use it, once or twice. And it just seemed, I always had a good feel for it. The shape hitters seemed like they had a hard time picking it up from the spin, very similar to the fastball. And we used it a lot last year in Houston. And then I just tried to manipulate it a little bit more and play with the shape, add it, make it bigger, make it shorter, make it harder. Get it to be what I want to do. And that's what I use my offseason for, is trying to be able to manipulate that pitch, both sides of the plate, different shapes, but all prefacing off of the same pitch. So it's been a big pitch for me here and recently. And, I don't see any reason why it's going to go away.
Hey, and last thing on going back to the trade for 1 second, did it catch you by surprise at all?
Yes and no, but when I opted in, I wasn't expecting it to be that quickly, but when I opted in, they didn't announce it for about a day and a half. So I thought maybe something was up at that point. That was kind of more of the telltale sign writing on the wall type of a thing. But that was probably more of the giveaway than anything, is when there was nothing for about a day and a half after we had told them what their plan was, I figured something was probably, in the works from a team standpoint. But hey, I've been traded multiple times before. And like I said earlier on in this press conference, Zoom, whatever we're calling this, Texas is a great place for me personally, and looking forward to getting down to spring training, meeting everybody, and having a good season.
We will try to keep the cat out of the clubhouse. Sorry about that.
It's all good. No worries.
Kennedy.
Hey, Jake, just on the health, I guess outside of health, is there anything specific that you're working on this offseason, kind of going into 2023, whether that's, pitch design, really anything at all?
Yeah, just shaping up mechanics. I didn't like a lot of my mechanics last year of, not being in the right position, of staying through the ball. I felt like I was pulling off a little bit. Part of it being, the foot and not being able to have a stable landing, but really being secure and stable on the front side and basically taking directionally a better line to home plate, as opposed to, being around the ball. I want to be up and down through the ball. And that makes a big difference for me in my pitching style. So, that's basically the focus, is getting mechanics back in line, and everything plays well after that. And you get the ball to the plate. That's the main goal. So whatever you can do from a mechanic standpoint to do that consistently, I think is what is the most important thing. So that's my focus on this offseason, is getting everything back in line from a linear perspective instead of being I got a little too much rotational this year, and a lot more balls, walks, deeper counts, you name it, anything to simplify. I have simple mechanics to begin with, but sometimes they get out of whack and they become a little more too complex. So I'm trying to simplify things, get back to being as stable as I can and as straight in line as I can to home plate.
Awesome. Thank you, Jake.
No problem.
Okay, with that, we'll let Jake go. We appreciate the time and look forward to seeing you soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. It was a pleasure to meet y'all.